That's kind of cool.
Yeah?
We should start it. Yes.
Okay.
So start wherever you want.
Good morning, Nicole.
Hi, Jane.
Hey, we just finished a nice cup of coffee. We're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Okay. So this is our new partnership. I think I'm kind of excited to work with folks and share, experiences we've had at work and experiences we've had as consultants working with folks.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do, to talk about how I've screwed this stuff up a million times before.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Makes you stronger and
Yeah.
helps you be credible with
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to process through.
We know that.
Yeah.
But do we always live it? That's the thing.
No, we don't give ourselves a break, and I'm finding a trend that we're not giving other people a break as much anymore.
Yes, like as soon as people mess up, we want to go look at what.
Yeah.
Look at what you did.
And start keeping score.
Yeah. Let me
Instead of
document it. It's
Yeah.
been 3 things,
Yeah.
3 times now.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a situation once where I managed a team of people, and if we got the work done, we had so much work that would come in during the day. You could take a break and do some learning modules. And I had this one guy who I kept walking by the training room, and he was in there, and I'm like, I still have work to do. What's this guy doing? And I watched it for a couple of days, and I finally said something, and luckily it was just a couple of days. And I said, Joe, we got work to do. And he said, I'm timed out for lunch. He was doing this on his own time. We weren't even paying. But man, if I would have just chalked that up for weeks and months, that's awful.
Yeah. It was probably awful enough for him to be like, what? What are you talking about?
I mean, that wasn't a good moment for me. I mean, I judged first before I asked.
Well, it's how often do we do that just in general?
Mm-hmm.
I met a woman named Byron Katie in Ojai, California, and she helped point out to me that many times that old adage of believe half of what you see and none of what you hear is pretty relevant, because you just don't. We fill in the gaps so much. You see someone in a conference or in a learning center when you should be working, and you tell yourself, he's sloughing off.
Yeah. Didn't he listen to me? That was very clear. Yeah.
And only to learn later that he's incredibly committed, so much so that on his lunch hour
he was doing the work.
So
tell me her quote again.
Well, it's an old saying, and I don't know where it comes from. I think it might even be a proverb. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear.
So talk to me about the hear part.
Yeah, so if I come to you and I say, hey, Joe, that guy's a slough off. Believe none of that. It's all completely story.
Yeah.
It's secondhand. It's not provable. It's not a fact. But even what you saw Joe in the conference room during a time that he shouldn't have been. You need to believe half of that.
Yeah.
Because your eyes are telling you one thing.
Yeah.
But until you talk with Joe, you don't know what the truth is.
So how should I have, when I went in, hey Joe,
how you handled it was wonderful.
Well, but I accused him. Hey, so I don't know. I mean, at least I got it done early. I killed myself early, but it's like, should I have said, what's up? Or I don't know.
Well, Byron Katie says, question your thoughts.
Okay.
So before you believe anything is true, ask yourself, is it 100% true? So what happened is your ego said to you, Joe's in the conference room doing these learning modules. He must be doing something not working. That's your brain quickly. She has this process called the work where she says, actually, okay, what you're thinking, let's question that first, and then see all the ways that you are not working before you even approach Joe. So it helps you get your judgment down. Because you did, to your own admission, you did go in and say, hey, what's going on here? We got work to do. That's kind of a judgy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was. And I waited a couple days to do that.
Yeah. One thing I learned when I was at Hallmark, when I was working there was a company called Woodstone that was doing some development work with us. I don't think they're in business anymore. But they said, assume positive intent.
Yeah.
So you see Joe, right, and he's in learning mode. What's a positive context for that?
Yeah. That would have helped.
Yeah, and it's not positive psychology. It's not, oh, Joe's in the conference room. How fantastic is that?
Yeah.
It is. I don't know why Joe's in there.
Yeah.
So since I don't know, fill it in with good stuff.
Okay. That'd be good. Because if he was really trying to sneak around, he would have been someplace else besides that room. And he was, even if, he could have had his cue done. And I mean, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
But I did wait. I waited a few days so that at that point it was not as much questioning as it was very much judging, because here we go again.
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't see me, walk by and roll my eyes and look at my watch and stuff like that. That's
Well, question for you.
Yeah.
Did you spend any time talking to anyone else about it?
No.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good, because how many times do you think we do that? We
I
go,
know.
oh my gosh, have you seen Joe in there?
Yeah.
Like, how much time is he spending there doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, I coached a woman once who liked to spend a lot of time talking to people about stuff that was going on at work. And I said, so for the next 2 weeks, you can't talk to anyone about anyone at work. And, you would have thought I said, you can't eat carbs for 2 weeks or have a drink or whatever. And so I said 2 weeks. And
no negative conversation about anyone.
Yeah, you can't talk about anyone else to someone else at work. And so anyway, she came back the second week and said, I did it. It was hard. I slipped, but a few times it was hard. But it really made a difference. But she said when I slipped, it was like an alcoholic having a drink, and I couldn't stop. Yeah. So even though she felt really good, it was really easy to slide back into it.
That's very interesting. My best friend's a preacher.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gotta be tough.
It's tough whenever I go to her church. They assume positive things about me.
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like pressure.
Yeah.
But one thing that's interesting is one year they were doing a no gossiping. So they wore these little bands on their arms. They weren't going to gossip. And so she and I, it's your public face versus your private face.
Yeah.
So we will always talk about people.
That is so good to know.
So our first conversation on the phone, we had nothing to talk
See,
about.
there you go.
Because we were so busy talking about those heathens out there, right?
Yep.
That when we couldn't talk about people, for a while we had nothing to share.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if that's one thing in the workplace we could really work on. And I think as women, we are used to socializing and talking about stuff. And what I really admire when I look at some of the guys that I've worked with, that they have, they kind of keep stuff to themselves. And I think that's really not a bad thing.
That's not a bad.
Because it's you feel good on the other side of that person, when you know that about them. So yeah, it's this itch that we want, but it never feels good.
Brene Brown says that it's the thing that helps us kind of one up.
Yeah.
At least not as bad as that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And when someone calls it out in that way, you just go, there's no real place for that at work.
Yeah, I agree. I remember having lunch someplace and hearing two people having at it, about something. And I thought, oh, it just sounds awful. I mean, it was just horrible to hear it. And then you think, okay, I've done that.
How many times have I done that?
How many times have I done that?
And it's interesting when you're a third party with no emotion in the game.
Yeah.
It all looks so ridiculous. I have another girlfriend who's an attorney, and she said what makes attorneys able to really think about a common goal is that they don't have any. It's not. It ends up not being personal for them, so they can move forward towards a common agreement quicker. But here's where I struggle, and maybe you have something that you can share about this. Work does start to feel very personal, especially in some of the creative spaces where you work. And so how do I separate some of the emotion from it so I can think clearly? Yeah. But then still kind of own that it's, your work is you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just reading a book before you came, a chapter. David Brooks wrote a book on, I have to remember the name. It's on basically kind of integrity, although that's not the title. I'll get that back.
We'll put that in the comments.
Yeah, it's good. And he was talking about a gentleman who really, no matter what was coming his way, and he was in a time and place where a lot was, he was being faced with that was really negative. But he just was really, he had intentionally set within himself, I'm fine, this is how I'm going to impact things. And he just kept getting settled into how he wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
and how he wanted to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And things didn't shake him. So I think it is that intention and really remembering it and having to remember it, rubber band and snapping or whatever, because it feels good when you can do it.
When you can do it. Mm-hmm. So if we were going to tell people, I don't know, 2 or 3 things in order to kind of move the needle in this space,
Yeah.
What are a couple ideas you have?
I'm going to let you start with that.
You think so?
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
When you initially want to go to a bad space, I don't care if you saw it in email, I don't care if you think you have proof. There's just been so many times in my life where I thought I was 100% right about something.
Mm-hmm.
There's an example that's just kind of sticking in my head. I had a friend at work, a best friend at work. You know how Gallup has that question, and we all hate that question.
I
right?
know. It's the one we remember.
Yeah, but I did have a best friend at work, and one day he just wasn't working there anymore. And I'm like, well, gosh, if he was going to leave, he would have told me about it. So I went to the person who he always went to lunch with, and that happened to be another woman. And I said, hey, have you seen Joe? We'll call him Joe.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm. We're going to have a lot of Joes.
We're going to have a lot of Joes
in our conversations.
Have you seen Joe? And I noticed something, but I didn't. And I noticed that her response physically there was something there, but I just ignored it.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I don't know what happened. So fast forward like 5 years, okay?
No way.
Turns out that she and I had a very contentious 5 years, and I didn't know why.
Mm.
But it's a manufacturing plant, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In the front office, it's really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked kind of in the manufacturing part where it was really loud.
Yeah.
So I came from the manufacturing spot where it's loud,
Mm-hmm.
and I come to the front office where she sits, and
Mm-hmm.
I go, have you seen Joe? Well, my voice is loud for the front office, okay?
Yeah.
What I didn't know was that Joe, and we'll call this woman Susan, were
Mm-hmm.
having an affair. The affair turned into the sexual harassment thing.
Oh, man.
And I don't know the truth or validity of any of this, but everyone else in the plant did. I did not. And so for her, it looked like I was trying to embarrass her.
Yeah.
And for me, it looked like she was just being difficult with me for 5 years for no reason.
Wow.
And here's the part that I own. I noticed something and I didn't inquire.
Yeah.
I noticed something and I didn't inquire. Like when things are small, that's the time to do something. We had 5 years worth of stuff built on top of it.
Yeah.
It's like Eat That Frog, whatever the name of that book is. Like when it's tiny, address it then. That's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is just don't always go with what you believe to be true. You might be wrong.
Yeah. I think that's great. I love both of those, and I do think that something's not feeling great, or what's the signal is. I know we haven't been talking as much anymore. When we talk through some stuff, or I said something the other day. Yeah, bring it up, because it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
5 years later was very interesting because I could go back to the moment and go, oh, after I learned what the situation was, I could immediately see there's 8 other people in the front office who heard me say, do you know what happened to Joe?
But I think you could go back to the moment because something was telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
because if you didn't get it, you wouldn't go back to the moment.
And trust our guts.
Yeah.
Trust our guts.
Yeah.
We don't like to always trust our guts because it's not experience.
Yeah.
But for someone who's intuitive like you and I both are, gut is experience.
Now, I think that's good. I work with a lot of groups and executives, and there's elephants in the room that no one's going to talk about, feelings, things to clear up, and it's really your role at any level in an organization to step up on that.
To step up on that. And so I think next time we should maybe talk about the personal side of this work.
That'd be
Does that
good.
sound good?
Yeah, it's always personal.
All right. Well, this is our first little shot at this for Jane and I. Jane has an organization called Jane Walton Consulting, and I have an organization, Lively Paradox.
I love Lively Paradox.
Reach out to us if there's any topic you'd like to hear more about from our consulting experiences or our work experiences.
I was in HR for a while, and I would say, just when you think you've seen it all and heard it all, there's other things that come up. But we have seen a lot and heard a lot.
Yeah.
But we'd like to hear from you too, and learn from you as much as you're going to hopefully glean some ideas from us.
Perfect.
Thank you.
15